The intended use of this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests independently, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Updog Challenge Incorporated, its sponsors, or any other partnered organizations. Updog Challenge Incorporated does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of any opinions expressed. In no way should the information provided during the Sweet Spot, an Updog podcast be considered veterinary, medical, legal, or professional advice. At all times, the advice of your personal professional should supersede any information provided, derived, or inferred from listening to this podcast.
Ready, set, go.
Welcome to the Sweet Spot, an Updog podcast. I'm Andrea.
And I am Jack, and we are your hosts today. And as a guest today, we have no one.
Nobody. We are guests.
But we do have we think, a pretty cool topic to talk to you about. Dre, what's our topic?
It's freestyle related. Whoop, whoop. And
Uh-oh.
we're talking. That's why I got this big smile on my face. Because we're going to be talking about flips today. And I love talking about flips. It's like one of the most versatile, useful moves in the sport. And there's so many ways to utilize it and customize it and create great freestyle. So we're going to be talking about freestyle flips today.
All right. And you kind of already answered my first question that I had, which was like, why would, sometimes you think of a flip and you're just like, okay, that's that. How could we dedicate an entire podcast episode just to flips? But I think you started answering that question right there. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, flips. So if I was to define a flip, I would say it's a setup move. It's a rotation over the dog's shoulder, one shoulder or the other. So they're doing either a back flip over this shoulder or a back flip over that shoulder. And then there's all different degrees of angle change to those flips that change how the dog lands, how far away they land, what their athletic ability expression is at the top of the flip. So for me, it's certainly something we could talk about for hours because it's such a useful tool to create flow, to create position. When we're moving our dog around the field, if we don't have something like a setup move, which a flip would be in the category in my mind of a setup move is a move that puts the dog in a specific position for another move. So flips are a great way to set up vaults, overs, and dog catches, stalls, those kinds of moves where you need the dog to leave from a certain set point in order for the trick to be consistent. So you don't have to like stop the dog, like wait, get your gap, line up, and throw. If you notice, most of the higher level teams, they're doing that in flow. So their dog goes right from whatever the move is right into the vault. And those connections they're not accidental. That's created
Right.
purposefully, usually using some sort of setup move or patterning moves together so that they know exactly when the dog is going to land at a certain spot so that the vault works. So flips are a really powerful setup move, really versatile, and a great way to showcase the dog's athleticism.
And I think they're like the flashiest setup move. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of unique interior movement that you could do, a lot of unique flat work that perhaps you could do. But honestly, like if you've got a dog that's got a cool looking flip, that's like probably one of the most dynamic setup moves you can have because it doesn't look like a setup move. It looks like another trick.
Like a cool move, yeah.
Followed
cool
by
trick.
another trick.
Yeah.
Right. Right. In and of itself, it's a trick. But like
Yep.
you said, it's a setup move as well.
Mhm.
So like it masks the fact that you're setting up for the
Yep.
next thing. It doesn't look like you are methodically moving your dog to get them in the right spot to make that vault or do that thing, that over or whatever it is. So yeah, absolutely. We could talk forever, I think, about this. So
Yeah, not every dog can flip either. So, I mean, it's another example of when we're playing freestyle, we want to showcase our dog's strengths and hide their weaknesses. So, if your dog has really nice upward leaping, flips are going to be something that you're going to showcase. And usually, the dogs that flip really well don't over very well. But we can get into that as we kind of go in. But this is another example of like this. This is a trick that not every dog is going to do at a full athletic expression. And so if you have a dog that does it at a full athletic expression, it's a great setup move to use versus some other ones because, like you had said, it's just such a nice expression of athleticism for a dog if the dog can do it. And now other dogs that don't have nice upward leaping, you could still use it as a setup move. It just wouldn't be considered something that's going to really showcase your dog's athleticism. But it still does serve the function of a quarter turn left or right. So it's still a setup move at a certain BSP. Okay, so speaking of different flips, what are some different types of flips, Jack?
So as you were talking there and you were saying not all dogs can flip, I sort of believe that, but I
Hmm.
sort of don't. And
Yeah.
here's what I mean by that. Like, I think that not all dogs are going to, like you said, make that nice, really big athletic expression as they flip.
Yeah.
And so not all dogs flips are going to look the same. Not,
Mhm.
I mean, just to be honest, not all dogs flips are going to look like a trick. They
Yep.
might just look like a turn.
An Oompa
Uh,
Loompa.
what?
An Oompa Loompa flip.
Yeah, I mean, but I do think that if you think about all the different types of flips that you could try to teach your dog, there's going to be one that your dog can do. Like, for instance, I think the classic flip or whatever is like kind of the dog's in front of the handler and the handler throws a disc in kind of the sweet spot for where that dog is. And that sweet spot, by the way, is different for different dogs,
Every
but
dog.
essentially it's somewhere like over the dog's eyes, like above their head. And it causes the dog to reach up to grab the disc and rotate around and land. And that's the one where the dog's just kind of like right in front. But
Yep.
then you've also got things like a through flip where the
Hmm.
dog can go through on your left or your right, and you pop a little disc up right in front of you, and they kind of rotate around to get that disc. It's kind of like I don't know, would you call that like a half flip or a three-quarter flip or something? Because they don't
Yeah.
make a complete rotation like they might if they were directly in front of you, but it's still a flip.
Yeah.
Then you've got the rut flip. So if you're doing a rut and the dog comes around behind you and through your legs, you can pop that disc up in front of you. Um, you've got
Dangerous.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you've got the flip where the dog flips away from you, rotates away from you, and then the one where the dog kind of lunges forward, and that's called a gainer flip. And again, Dre's right. Not all dogs are going to do all of those different flips, and certain dogs like we talk about a lot, right? Play to your dog's strengths, and so I've been guilty of it with some of my dogs, spending way too much time trying to get them to do something that they just
Yep,
are
they're just
not
not going to
naturally
be good at.
talented to
Yep.
do. And even though they might have ended up doing it, it never really like looked great. And I just spent a ton of time where if I would have just concentrated on the flips that they could do instead of trying to get them to do flips that they really can't do, I probably would have been better off.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember my dog. I'm sure you do, Dre, Groovy.
Of course I remember Groovy.
I mean,
And
it
actually I was thinking when made that statement, I was thinking about dogs like Groovy. So I'll follow up around after you share your Groovy story.
Well, anyway, she was kind of a long, lanky dog and had a lot of trouble. I had a lot of trouble teaching her to flip
Yep.
because I was trying to teach her a flip like my other dogs had done. And it wasn't until I sort of realized that she would do more of like a helicopter kind of a flip
Yeah.
rather than this like head over butt kind of a flip
Yeah.
that I spent a ton of time trying to get her to do a flip that she wasn't going to do.
Right.
And then when I found out she could do this really cool kind of helicopter-y looking thing, that became like a little bit of a signature move for her. But again, it was just something I had to figure out, and I had to play to my dog's strength.
Yeah. I've had a couple scenarios, and I will say they're all border collies, where the dog literally would not leave the ground. So, I've had a couple dogs in training where they literally would not remove their back feet from the ground for an actual flip. So, and I mean, using every temper drill possible, and the dog will not reliably lift the back feet. So I have come across that a couple times where I was like, you can spend forever working on this, but the dog's not going to do it well naturally. So just spend your time doing something else. Obviously, the dog doesn't like it, right? Same thing with dog catch. Like you can't trick a dog into a dog catch. It doesn't want to be caught. The behavior is going to break down. So that's been few and far between, but the issue that I've had with it is that the dog refuses to leave the ground with its back feet. Um,
You said something earlier that like I guess I just never naturally like made the connection or noticed it, but you said something about sometimes dogs that don't flip are better at doing
oh, yeah.
overs and vice versa.
Yeah,
Talk
so
a little bit about that because I've never noticed that, but that's
yeah.
kind of cool.
So the theory is, if we break it down to how dogs move, right? If they're running, they're leaning forward. And if they have collected leaping, if they're leaping and they're collected, they're leaning back, right? So that's basic movement. Forward is running and rocked back is collection, right? Now we add in the dog's body structure to that. If you have a dog like Groovy or like Freebird, right? A longer back, longer loin, a little bit shorter legs, and a little cowhocked in the rear. What you're going to see is great straight line speed and cornering. So they do a great job running and they do a great job switching direction, right? But if you ask them to jump in that, they're not collected jumping, they're forward forging jumping, right? And so for those types of dogs, the types of moves that force rear collection, like flip, because they have to sit to do it, and vaulting, because they have to reach back, sit in order to collect and pop onto something, are going to be better behaviors for that dog than an over because the dog's going to forge forward, and both of those behaviors require forcing, rocking back to load their rear. So they're typically their rears are just motors. For those type of dogs, they don't have a whole. You can do proprioception development stuff, like not like you could do that with any dog. They can have rear end awareness, but due to their structure and the way that the dog naturally moves, they're not going to be as good collected leaping. You could teach it, you could force it with the pressure of the disc, you could force it with scenarios having the dog sit before they do a move or something like that. For flips, one of the things that worked really well for me for leap was having them spin in the same direction as the flip to get modification. So you can move the dog's body or position to get them to do that move. But a dog that has a longer back, longer loin, little cowhocked in the rear, maybe shorter legs, is going to be a better vaulting, flipping dog than a dog like Leap, for example, who has a more compact body, longer legs, shorter loin, natural, beautiful popping leaping. His flips were weak. And his vaults were okay, but they were popping vaults. It wasn't a driving out vault. If you see all my vault pictures of Leap, he's straight up and he's hovering in the air, right? Because he's more of a collected overdog. And so for his flips, in order to showcase in his freestyle that he could flip both directions, and if I wanted a flip catch, he couldn't gainer because he was so rock back in collection versus forged forward, right? So that made him an exceptional leaping dog. But for flips, anything upward, he really struggled unless he was in full collection. So vaulting worked really well for that as long as it was high and popping. And for his flips, if I wanted him to gainer forward, I would have him spin in the direction that I'm flipping him first, and that would allow me to gainer him. But otherwise, the best I could get is a flip in the same position or a flip away. So it's body structure does play into it what the dog's natural leaping ability is. Some dogs are going to be better flipper vaulters, and some dogs are going to be better overs and like straight dog catchers because they're more rock back and collected versus forward forging. And then some dogs like Moxie can do it all. But I mean, I feel like those dogs are really, really few and far between. If you get a dog that has that much drive, that much athleticism, they can run at full speed and pop and collect. Leap was pretty close to that, but he had a lot of limitations in regards to some of his inside moves because he was such a strong leaper. But Moxie had that extra cattle dog in there that gave her that extra push, and that extra drive helped push through all the moves that would have been harder for a nicer leaping dog. I hope that actually translated in English to everybody
No,
out there.
that did make a lot of sense to me as you were talking. I and just as you were talking, I was thinking back about all my different dogs and all the
Remix.
dogs that I have now and my
Hmm.
baby dog that's just coming on and what
Yep.
types of things that he might be able to do well and what types of things maybe won't be his strengths. But that was interesting to just think about.
Yeah.
So, so let's get into it. Like, I want to teach my dog to flip. I want to see if I've got a flipper, or what type of flipper I've got. Where should I start? I know there's different ways to do this. So,
Mhm.
like, just what do you
Yeah.
start with typically?
So when I originally learned flips, I think that when the sport originated and when we started, there wasn't really a dog training mentality to it so much. There was more of like a California frisbee player kind of mentality to disc. Um, and now we've gone further into the dog training kind of approach to a lot of these tricks where we break things down into smaller pieces for the dog to understand what they're actually learning. And then we're also thinking more about dog safety and wear and tear on their body over time. So that wasn't really the when I learned flips, neither one of those were in the conversation. I just I just threw a disc over and over and over and over and over and over and over again to Lily until she was exhausted. And that's how I learned to throw flips. I threw 50 or so in a session, which is awful. And thankfully, when she retired, her shoulders were great. Wasn't a shoulder problem, right? But you can just throw the disc as a lure for a dog, and they will pursue that lure. For me now, working with a lot of different types of dogs and different people, I prefer using a take for that. So, and I want to also honor the dog's proper loaded position when I'm doing it. So I want the dog sitting so that we get nice upward jumping, and I want to use a take so that I can control what the angle of the disc is, what the placement of the disc is, what the height of the disc is, and also, when like when you first get a puppy and they're learning how to catch disc, and you throw a disc and it hits the ground, and then they open their mouth. The delay when you're trying to teach a
Okay.
dog
Yeah.
like toss a disc and it falls and then they try and bite it. There's like a reaction time that needs to be developed. I feel like a big part of flip development is that reaction time. If you want the dog to develop with nice upward leaping instead of just a pursuit of a disc lure, I feel like it's important to break it down into smaller pieces where you can really um, see the different changes that you're making of the position of the disc and the angle of the disc and the height of the disc and force that upward leaping for takes. So that's my preferred way to teach flips is the dog sitting so that we're forcing rear collection, placing the disc, beside the ear, somewhere near the withers. And again, sometimes for dogs it ends up being in front of their head, and for some dogs it ends up being closer to their tail. The height is going to depend on what the upward leaping of the dog is. Usually you start kind of right next to their head, so they turn their head and then you raise it from there. But I like breaking it down in tiny little dog training pieces. So the dog has to be able to sit next to the handler with a disc present, which is a pretty good challenge for them a lot of the times, without jumping around and breaking their sit. They need to be able to sit there with the handler standing really close to them. That can be challenging for pressure sensitive dogs too. They need to be able to look at the disc without just triggering it and biting it as soon as they see it. And then they need to be able to wait for you to trigger the disc and then take a disc from your hand. So as long as the dog can take a disc out of your hand, tug, hold a sit with you standing next to them, you can do that method. Um, and that's my preferred method for teaching flips.
I guess I would fall more in the old
Preferred
California
one,
disc
yeah.
dog person, I
Yeah.
guess. I
Yeah.
mean, I think as you were talking though, I think that some of the strategies that I use are building that same thing, and I am breaking it down.
Yeah.
Um,
But you're a skilled
so
handler.
what's
That's the
that?
difference. You're a skilled handler. Like when I'm teaching this, I'm working with people that can't throw a floater.
Right.
You can
So
say, okay, if you're an advanced player and you know that you can place the disc at that height and that angle and that consistently, then that's more of a valuable drill. For other people, if they're flinging it up in the air, the dog's not going to learn how to flip, you know?
I mean, and I don't start with flinging it unless unless I get a sense that the dog like for instance right now we've got a dog that we're boarding just to teach some disc stuff too, and I know the lineage of this dog and I know some other dogs that are related and I have a sense that this dog can do certain things. So
Yeah.
for that dog I did just throw the
Yeah.
disc right off the bat to see just what they would do.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I like got a flip like that.
Nice.
Not like a huge amazing one, like a
Oh,
spice
that's
flip or
awesome.
anything, but like it was a legit flip. So, I mean, there's that. But then
Yeah.
most of the time, what I would do is I would start out like eye level with the dog, kind of like, I'd be
You get low.
stoop down, I'd be low, and I would just send the disc to the left or to the right of their head, which is like I want to get that quick twitch that like
Yeah.
you were talking about, that reflex, but I don't have the disc like this at this angle. Like it's just like this. It's just a
Yeah.
horizontal to the ground disc because I want them to go be able to like
Right.
start getting that, oh, okay, sometimes I got to twist like this to get to the disc. And then gradually I start raising the disc and gradually start, doing it
Yeah.
like this to kind of like see like, okay, what are these other angles going to do? And the
Yeah.
dog starts realizing, oh, when the disc is at this other angle, I really have to push off, like you said, to like get to it. And that, that whole process could take 20 minutes or 2 weeks,
Yeah. Yeah. If the
depending on
dog's up or
me
not.
and the
Yeah.
dog. And like you said, I want to, especially once I start bringing the disc up like this and getting it higher, I want to make sure I'm consistent though. Like I can't be like, woo, like one throws over here and the next throws down here because then number one, I could not be safe with the dog. But
Right.
number two, I'm not necessarily teaching the dog because things are
Right.
so random and all over the place.
Yep.
Um, so I always try myself if I can't do it, and I definitely tell people like put the dog away. Now
Mhm.
you've got this idea that you want to throw it about here at this angle.
Try
Practice,
throwing it.
like practice those with left and you want to do left and right. Man, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes your dog is a strong flipper to the right, which
Yep.
means you got to throw it with your left hand. If that's not your dominant hand, well, suck it up. You got
Yep. Just
you
give that
got to.
dog to Dre. Give that
Yep.
dog to Dre. The great flipping lefty dogs. Give them to Dre.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I think somewhere, if you were to smash together both of our methods, you'd probably end up with like a perfect combination of approaches for all dogs and all
Well,
handling
and
types.
yeah, that's the thing is that different dogs pick it up different ways, and so I think it's good to have like different strategies. I know I was struggling to help somebody with their flips, and I was trying all the things that I knew, and it was not working. And you had told me about a strategy that you use with the climb table.
That was one of the
Remember
ones
that?
the dog that wouldn't lift their feet. And they would
Yeah.
do everything on a climb, but as soon as you drop down the climb, they didn't get any more height. Yeah.
Can you like tell a little bit about that strategy? Because that actually worked for this person. It helped.
Yeah, that was something that I picked up from Anya last year when she came to teach in Houston. So it's basically breaking down the flip into another smaller segment. So if you look at the way that what a flip is, right? The dog needs to jump pretty much straight up and then over one shoulder. And then if they don't rotate in the air, they'll just land on their side, right? So in order for like self-preservation, once they're up here and upside down, they sort of like rip their bodies around into a flat motion and then face back towards the handler again. And if you're doing it behind you, they would be facing back towards you this way. So ideally, you want them to do one full rotation. Whichever way they're facing, they're going to be facing the same direction at the end of that. So, the elements of that, the dog needs to jump up first. And that's the part that most dogs are going to struggle with because there's nowhere in the wild that dogs need to jump straight up. And there are a lot of breeds that actually breed against that. Like if you have a shepherd, they're bred to forge forward and climb palisades. Like they're not bred to like rock back and jump straight up. So like the structure of some of our dogs, especially the border collies are another one, they're head down sheep if they're sheep line, dogs, they're bred to have their head down and their front down and to be driving through. And so it can be really hard for them to rock back and jump straight up. So the jumping straight up part of the exercise is usually the hardest part for dogs that don't naturally flip to develop. It's like the proprioception. You actually have to develop the muscle, teaching them how to do that. The climb takes that part away. So it basically gives them a 12-inch rise and then all you have to do is do the little flip, take the turn over the shoulder and land, turn over the shoulder, land, turn over the shoulder, land. And then you can drop the climb down, take the legs off, and maybe double stack the climb so you have like 6 inches instead of 12. And then same thing. And then go down to a single climb, same thing. And then either go down to a Kato or go down to nothing. So the theory there is you should keep the disc at the same height and the dog should just have to make a
Right.
couple inches of more rear push each example to get them to that upward leaping. And if a dog is like so adamant about not lifting their feet up on the ground, it didn't work. So, and there's something you could do off of
That's
that.
when you go work on overs, right?
Yeah, right. You can also put a an agility bar across the climb and put some sandbags on it so that it's like sticking out. And there's a jump drill we used to do in CrossFit. I'm sure it's in lots of fitness where you have it on a box and you put a stick there and you have to jump over the stick. So that was an exercise that I did for flips where you put the dog on the for a dog that wouldn't lift up their feet. And you'd probably want to do this on a low climb, so like a 4-inch rise with the bar across, and then do the take over the bar for the flip. So like if the dog doesn't lift up their rear feet, they're clicking that bar. So there's a bunch of ways to kind of like play with that upward, but the main issue that I find is that the upward leaping is hard for some dogs. And so that's what either gives you or doesn't give you that big athletic expression. And so if the dog can jump upward, they're going to have a lot more of that athleticism up there. And if they don't, if they just have that little oompa loompa, you might want to use that. You can use a rebound instead, a fakie, or you can use a spin, or you can use an arm hoop, or you can use a flag and flash, or you can use a different setup move, a scoot, to get that dog into the same position without showcasing a low level of athleticism. Like at some point, it's not going to help you to put a move in there that isn't expressed well. You can
Right.
say, check, I have a vault, my dog can vault. But if the vault doesn't show good collection, the dog's slipping off of you, if they're jumping down, if they're wiggling in the air when they do it, if they don't look comfortable, if they're you could see them slipping off your leg, if they're only touching you with one foot, you might think that's a good example of the vault because the dog caught it, but the judge sees all that stuff. Like when I'm looking, I don't even really care if the dog caught it. I want to see, did the dog have 4 feet on? Do they have good collection? Did they rock back before they did it? Did they push off with their rear when they did it? How did they look in the air? And it's all the same things for flip. Is the dog wiggling in the air? Are they landing comfortably? Are they making a full rotation? Are they crumpling under their landing, or do they have enough athleticism to do, what they're doing? So there's a lot of little intricacies in there. But for the basic flip, I find that the hardest part is the upward leaping and that climb drill. And I've done some variations of it after that, adding sticks and bars and stuff like that to get the dog's feet up. But the climb, working it off of a higher object can help you remove one element of the flip training and then slowly add it back in once the other elements are developed. So it's just a basic dog training concept of splitting instead of lumping, which is a Susan Garrett concept.
So there was a lot in there, guys, and I want to
Okay.
reiterate something that Dre kind of embedded in there that I think is like a big concept that is important in freestyle, and that is it's not about just completing the thing.
Mhm.
Like you were saying about the vault. Like just I hope that that came through with people and they understand what you just said there. Like it's not about just, well, I have an
Dog
over
caught it.
or I
Yeah.
have a vault. So I don't know why the judges didn't count me just the same as that other person over there that has the vault. But like, it's like, what does that vault look like? What does your dog look like? What is, how is the trajectory of their body as they go up over that vault? Where was your throw
Yeah.
when you threw your vault throw? Like all of those pieces. So it's not just about completing the thing, and don't ever feel like you have to do this thing that you see other people doing. It's freestyle. You can do whatever.
Right.
Find your points, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't not have to necessarily be in a vault or in a flip or in an over or
There have been
whatever.
plenty of people that have won without any vaults, and there are a bunch of players that I know that don't flip their dog, and you wouldn't even notice that it's missing. So you don't have to be attached to one move or another. Ideally, if your dog does it all, do it all, right? But if it doesn't showcase a strength, just eliminate it. There's enough stuff
Yeah.
to do. And as a new player, you might not think there's enough stuff to do, but there's enough stuff to do.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
I was
find out
at
what to do. Yeah.
I was at a seminar recently where somebody asked me to teach them to do something that I've never done before. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And they just looked at me confused as if I would just like know
Would
every
know
little
everything.
thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never wanted to do that with my dog and I've never taught
I've never
that to any
said
of
it. I
my
don't know how
dogs,
to.
so
Yeah.
I don't have that skill set. I'm like, I can think through it with you, but honestly, I'm not the best person to tell you that.
No. Yep. I have one of those for you actually this week. I'm going to be sending somebody to you because somebody asked me to do something that is definitely your strong area and I can't even do it. And so I'm just going to teach the basics of how I would get to the behavior, and then I'm going to send them to you to teach them how to do the actual execution of the
Yeah.
behavior.
I
Yeah.
think that's the cool thing about freestyle is, you don't have to feel like you've got to do everything.
Yep.
Now, that said, let's get back to doing this thing,
Yeah.
flipping.
So when is it
So,
safe? This is a big question. When is it safe to begin teaching flips with your dog?
all right, I might have a controversial
I'm ready for your
answer to
controversial
this.
answer.
Kat was like, when we first got our dogs, no flipping until they're a year old or until growth plates are closed and all this kind of stuff. And I am not going to say I want you to be flipping your dog like crazy
Mhm.
um, before their growth plates are closed or anything like that. However, I am a firm believer that if you don't start teaching your dog some of those motions
Right.
until they're a year and a half old, it's going to be way harder to teach them when they're a year and a half old than when you're sitting there doing all these other things with your dog and teaching them all these other motions. You can sit with your dog in front of you and do that little drill I said. Like it's right at their
Yep.
eye level. They're not leaping up super high, but you're teaching that quick twitch. You're teaching that reaction time. You're teaching them that sometimes they've got to turn a little bit.
Mhm.
And Cat's right behind me. So like, I could get in trouble for saying this,
I'm,
but
I'm waiting to hear. It's the I got the popcorn. I'm ready to hear what your date is.
But I mean, Doc is 6 months old, and I have first of all, I have flipped him into my arms multiple times, so he's not landing. He's flipping, and I'm catching him
Mhm.
because I saw right away that he would do a gainer. So I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I could flip him and catch him.
Yep.
So I started doing that with them just a little bit, not high, not crazy. He's not running like a maniac at me or anything. So I did that. And then the other day, like over the last couple weeks, I have done little small flips with him. He's not jumping up super high, but I want to teach him to get that full rotation and get those legs underneath him and land. I don't want to wait till a year and a half, partially because I don't want to wait, but
Yeah.
then also because I just think it's going to help him with his physical awareness if he does it early. All right, I said it.
Okay.
So
Thanks for
you
being
guys can
honest.
all yell at me, put a bunch of nasty comments.
Thanks for being honest. I'm in Camp Cat. Chillin turns a year next week. He's never seen a flip. Magic did not see his first flip takes till 15 months. He's a small dog, and I felt at 15 months it was appropriate. He had been done growing for about 3 months, so that's when I started. Um, Oompa Loompas are different, so that's what I call the little side to side tosses. So if a dog is a puppy in front of me and I could do a little toss side to side, I have no problem with that. Anything upward leaping landing for me does not happen until at least 15 months old. I've had two dogs retire from bicep strains, overuse, and flips land right on those biceps and rotate. And the shoulders aren't done being developed yet. So for me, my dogs won't see flips until they're at least a year old flip catches. So I was actually planning on starting the flip take foundation that I had talked to you about with chillin' with a catch. Because I've worked a straight dog catch already. He's fine with that. But again, as a whippet, and he's a larger size for he's the largest dog in his litter. Um, he's not done growing yet. So for me, his body is not ready for any type of rotated landing. It's the rotation for me. If it was straight landing, a lot safer. I've done collected leaping. I've done, collected leaping into a dog catch. I've done collected leaping to little overs. And so on that, I think that I'm more in your camp where if it's in a straight line, I feel like we can do some loaded collection stuff as long as there's not repetition. But for anything twisting when the dog is landing, I don't want him to land probably until he's 15 months old. So I'll start the flip take rotation with him in the next couple weeks just to get him doing the motion. But honestly, he's so strong and athletic. Like it's just terrifying to me to have him have any type of more explosive um, power at this age. I just don't know that he would be responsible with his body. So for me,
Yeah,
it's a
and
12 month to start the take and the rotation to catches, and it's 15 months until they land. And it depends on the dog's body too. If it's a large breed, you don't want to start this until 18 months old. They're just not their joints aren't developed yet until they're 2 or 3 for a larger breed dog. So
And
that's
Kat's talking behind me. She's like, "Yeah, you've never owned a large breed, Jack."
yeah.
The other
So
thing too is I'm saying flip, but I'm not talking like the dog's up in the air and like landing from
we're
like
not we're not burning
1 foot.
you at the stake. Yeah, we're not burning you at the stake, but like a 6 month old dog would not see a flip for me at all.
The other thing that sometimes I hear from people too is like, "Oh, I'm not going to do a flip," but yet their dog's jumping into the car, running around with another dog loose like crazy, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure like that's going to be more
Okay, so let's go into
that's
that.
going to be more trouble
It
than
could
me
be.
throwing a little throw like that.
That could be, but that dog is choosing to make that behavior by their own volition. If they're following a lure, we are choosing that behavior. So if the dog is following a lure, especially if it's a young dog that isn't like smart in their brain yet, they're not going to be self-preservation. They're just going to go, right? That dog is just going to go wherever the disc is. He's not thinking about his landing. So
Right,
I
but
feel
the
like if
other
they're
thing
playing,
is I'm controlling the situation with
yes,
the throw. When
yes,
my dog's out there chasing another dog in the wild and they're just
yeah,
friggin' going all over, I don't
yeah,
have any control over that. Plus,
yeah.
they're doing that at a lot higher speed than what they're doing my
And
flip
that's
rotation.
you, 25 years of disc experience and very high level handler. And I think our audience, for the most part, I don't know that there's anybody that has the level of experience in handling that you have.
And
So
Kat said that's a very valid point.
yeah. So like I said in the beginning, I think that your flip method works very well for you because you are a high level handler and you can put the discs in the place where they need to be to have the dog land safely and slowly move them through that process. But I feel like a large majority of our audience can't do that. They can't throw three floaters to the right spot three times in a row. So why would you put a dog that's body's not developed yet in a twisting landing motion when they can't? I'm not saying you can't do it safely. I'm saying that a majority of the people listening to this podcast can't do it safely.
Well, I
And
also didn't say I would throw floaters. I said horizontal to
yeah,
the sides of their
yeah.
face.
I'm not chastising you. Just to let you know, I think that what you're doing is
It's
appropriate for
okay.
your
I
level of
said it
skill.
was controversial, and
Yes,
it's
and
okay. What
for
I
your
do in
level
the
of skill, it's
privacy of
perfect.
my own home is my own business
What you put on social media is yours, Jack.
when cat's not looking.
Yeah. So for me, I have a 12-month cutoff to start the process if the dog's body is ready, 15 months to actually start landing flips if the dog's body's ready. And for larger breed dogs or dogs that are taking longer to develop, they're not going to see it till 18 months or 2 years, depending on their shoulders and stuff.
Everybody take Dre's advice, take Kat's advice. I don't want you
Don't
doing
listen to Jack.
something
But
and
a
then
lot of people,
having something happen and go, Jack told me I could do this. Don't do it. I'm telling you
yeah,
now. Don't listen to me about when to start flips. Listen to Dre, listen to Kat.
mhm,
Um,
yeah.
and that's that.
All right, next question. Let's move off this hot topic.
All right. Okay, so
Sure.
once once I've got my dog flipping and I kind of know which direction they flip the best, where the disc needs to be, like how can I then use this to like really maximize this trick? Like what can I do beyond just the holding it and, throwing it while the dog's right in front of me?
Oh man. I think we talked about um a lot of the strategies. I would say if the dog won't take a take from your hand, you have to start with that. So you have to start with them actually being able to,
Oh,
complete.
I asked a different question. You're answering the question that was written, but not the question that I asked.
Okay.
Because I
So
felt like we already talked
we
about
did.
number
We did
five.
talk about that. So
Yeah,
ask your
that's
question.
why I moved on to number six.
Oh,
And that's the one I
got it.
asked.
I'm good. I got it now. Okay, thank you. Once you have a consistent flip with your dog, how can you maximize this?
Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth.
What movie is that? That's an Adam Sandler movie, isn't it?
I don't
Listen to
know.
the words that are coming out of my mouth. I don't, whoever knows what movie that's from, put it in the comments, please, because I know for sure that's a movie quote. Okay, once you have a consistent flip, how can you maximize this trip? Jack mentioned a bunch of them in the beginning. Change it up. So when you're first starting to flip, don't worry about this. If you're just starting flipping with your dog, just work on making a consistent flip. A left flip and a right flip. Okay. Strong side, weak side, however you want to call it. Just work on that. Once you have your consistent flip, then you could start working on delivering it around your body in different positions, behind you, to the side, through and flip, rut and flip. You can change your releases, sidearm, overhand wrist flick, brushes, dish spins, max. Like just look at changing one element from the regular flip, either the position around your body or the type of the release that you're doing. And then you can go into Jack's area, double disc, triple disc, quadruple disc type of throws. So I don't think that the actual flip needs to be necessarily modified, but if we wanted to modify the flip itself, you can modify the flip itself you could do a drop down or a finishing move afterwards, a creative way to get the dog out of the flip. You can do it where you're catching the dog and then delivering another trick to the dog, like a floater disc, something like that. These are just elevations of the regular default flip behavior. And essentially, all of them are setup moves. So they put the dog in some other, except for a dog catch. If you're doing a flip to a dog catch, it doesn't set them up. Well, it would set them up for whatever your next drop down or next throw or whatever is. So just try to think about it as like the flip, in my opinion, doesn't need to be the the piñata, the big celebration, the thing that you're there for. The flip is really a setup or preparation or addition to some next big trick, unless it's a dog catch. And then that could be a big trick. And obviously flips can be big tricks, but I just feel like if you were to do a flip and then an out throw, I feel like you're missing an opportunity. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. And I think that like backwards design kind of thing. Like you're thinking, okay, what can this help with? So like when your dog lands that flip, look at where they're lined up. Look at where their
Right.
head's at. When they land and complete their rotation, they're back on the ground and maybe they've dropped the disc and they're about ready to look up to see like what's next. Where would you need to be
Hmm.
to throw a vault or to
Over.
do a through or
Right.
whatever it is? Think about that. Think about, all right, when I throw the disc this way and my dog lands, they're landing here. What things could I do out of that positioning, out of that body positioning? And if you're like, man, I was hoping I could throw a flip into a back vault, but
Hmm.
the dog lands sort of like not facing you. They're sort of kitty corner to another direction or
Right.
something. Then all you need to do is think about, well, okay, as I throw this flip, could I rotate
Move. Right.
particular way? Could I rotate 270 degrees or 90 degrees so that when my dog lands, I am lined up? And
Yeah.
that creates a really nice flow as well because you're throwing that flip, you're rotating as your dog is rotating.
Yep.
Um, but just think of that like backwards design. What's what could I do out of my dog's landing?
Yeah.
That's kind of like how I think about it.
How we get into flow, right?
Yep.
That's how we get the moves to link together so that we don't have to set up every inside move for safety and position. In the training that I do, I call it BSP or basic starting position. So the flip puts the dog at a certain BSP to complete something like a vault or an over or a dog catch. It's just a that what 6 to 8 foot to 10 foot range, depending. And probably not 10 feet is probably too big for most flips. So 6 to 8 foot range where the dog lands where it's just enough for the dog to stride, collect, chip, and go into the next move. So I find that they're just really, really useful setup move, and we can elevate them to be moves that get you major points, like you were saying, Jack. Find your points. Um, if you have a cool move like a dish spin or a mac, or you have different releases that you want that you've been working on inside or fidgets or drop downs or any of those things are things that can elevate the flip to have a bigger point value maybe or a difficulty value instead of just being a setup move that shows athleticism. But they're also as an athletic move. If your dog is a really nice flipper, like that could be a really big bonus for your freestyle. Like there's some dogs that I've seen win world championships with like 11, 17, 11 to 17 flips, let's just say that in a freestyle routine. Now I do think that's too many of the same repeated move over and over again, but those flips were all varied. There were variations to them, releases, positions. It was the handler showcasing in a good way a really big strength of the dog. You've seen freestyle routines with 11 vaults in them, and that's moxie in the beginning of our routine, in the beginning of our career, right? And so sometimes a dog is really strong in a behavior that you could have a lot of repetition of that behavior inside, but it doesn't look that way because there are so many variations of it. So I think it's a really great tool to use throughout your freestyle routine over and over again. If you can have a left flip and a right flip and then everything else be varied to some sort of position, I don't feel like you're like losing value by repeating it. So I think it's really useful in that way.
I think I think the next question we kind of already answered a little bit.
Yeah.
Our next question was about separation, and we had a whole podcast episode where we talked about separation. And
Yep.
separation is just like the distance between the dog and the disc as the dog, leaves the ground to go after the disc, or not even leave the ground, chases after the disc.
Right.
The handler throws it, the dog makes the catch. How much separation is there? Sometimes with flips, we do see little dink tosses, like the
Mhm.
dog's already practically in the air, and you just kind of put it in the dog's mouth.
Yep.
Back to what Dre was talking about, judges see that.
Mhm.
Judges are going to not count a flip like that as much as if it was the exact same flip and it was thrown earlier and with some more separation. So, like, I think that idea of separation between dog and disc is important in flips, as well as what we had talked about in the other episode with vaults and things like that. Anything to add to that, Dre?
Nope. I mean, it's that way for every freestyle trick. And obviously, there's a point. It wouldn't be like if you throw a flip at 50 yards, it's more valuable than one at 10 yards. It's not like endless separation, but it does take more skill to be able to place a disc at further away for the dog to catch it with the wind variable and
Yeah.
curves and timing and spacing and position and the dog moving and all that stuff. It's a higher level of skill to have more separation. So
And
it's
sometimes it's just luck.
right.
Like yeah, every once in a while you'll see like a throw and go catch.
You catch it at 40 yards upside down in
It's
the
a
back.
flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the dog basically most of the time it happens because the dog was out of position
Yep.
or the disc somehow got over the dog's shoulder and then they
Yep.
had to make a last second effort to
Yeah.
catch it.
Yeah. So
Those are rarely on purpose.
the bigger separation throws are going to be dogs, dogs that have a more confident flipping behavior. So don't start with that. Start with a closer release and then build up your separation over time. But a lot of people, yeah, what they'll do is when they learn the move, even for vaults and stuff too, you learn the move and then you kind of keep that same distance real close the whole time because that's how you do it. But don't forget that like just because it's our first iteration of doing a trick, that's our final iteration, and you want to keep developing the trick. You want to keep, finding the ideal position that gets the best leaping for the dog and the best showcase of the dogs and the best landing for them too. Like how we place things totally determines their landing, and we want a nice, forward bend back landing. We don't want them coming down on all fours. We don't want them landing rear first and then whipping down their front. We want them landing front and then back and then kind of running out of that motion. So, for a flip, it's important you don't have too hard of a front landing. You don't want them coming down straight on their front legs and then slamming down the back either. So a lot of working out the flip position is looking at how the dog's landing off of the flip. So another reason to, work on flip catches and stuff with your young dogs before they're landing, because there's going to be variability to their landing when they start, and that's going to be harder on undeveloped joints than dogs that are fully mature and have all that muscle support around their joints to kind of absorb the shock. All right. So where does one go, Jack, to find out more and watch videos of how to get their dog flipping?
Well, they go to our Patreon page. So if you go to our Patreon page, you can see a couple videos that Dre and I put up there.
Yeah.
And if you're not part of our Patreon group, then well, sorry,
Sorry.
so sad, no
Very
videos
special
for
group.
you.
It's a very special group that maybe you'll get a select invite to later when we have it.
I was just gonna say we don't really have
We don't
that
have that
set
yet,
up, but
but we
maybe we should.
will someday.
Um,
I mean, the flipping
no,
facts.
we got to do the flipping amazing facts because I
Okay.
have I have I have questions for you.
All right. So where do you go to find out more and watch videos of how to get your dog to flip, Jack?
Well, like I said, you just reach out to Dre or I, and we'll hook you up.
Okay, good. That's a good answer.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I have a flipping 201 course, an online course for flips that does cost less than a private lesson. So if you like working independently, I do have that. You could check out Dispel
Perfect.
International. Dragon Dogs International might help if I put my right URL in there. So Dragon Dogs International, click on online courses, and there is a flipping 201 course on there that takes you from beginning to end on how to do your flips. And eventually Jack and I will create a Patreon and put some cool exclusive
Yep.
video. It's one of our goals, so we'll get to that.
Coming in the future.
Or you could do a lesson with Jack or do a lesson with me, and we'll help you through that also.
I also have a course. It's Flipping with Puppies 101.
No, no.
I
Cat's out of the.
also
You'd be
I
throwing
also
something at you
have
right now.
I also have that you can follow that up with vaulting with your puppy
Let's not even
101.
open that can of worms, please. All right. How about give me some flipping amazing facts, Jack?
All right, we have some flipping amazing facts to close out our podcast here. Dre, I looked these up. Don't look at them. Don't look at them because they're records. I want to see if you can guess what the record is for
I'm
these
gonna, I'm gonna
flips.
close my notes. No more notes. Okay, go.
Okay?
I'm ready.
All right. So there is such a thing as like flipping a big, huge telephone pole, right? Like there's a name for it. I can't remember.
That and the lumberjack
Yeah.
challenge things where they're chopping trees and stuff. I've seen that. Okay.
So what do you think the record is for the fastest time to flip a telephone pole, but in the snow? How fast do you think they could flip it?
I mean, 7.10 seconds.
Oh, well, that's a little bit less than what it took.
Really?
10.9 is the
10.9
record.
seconds. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they have to like run up to the thing, pick it up, and
And
then
it's slippery, so they have to be a little bit more
yeah.
careful. They
I was just
can't
like, I
like
don't know. You just throw the thing. How long does it take to throw a
yeah.
thing? I don't know how long
So
it takes to throw a
10
thing.
10.9 seconds, people.
Good. Okay. The
All right.
fastest flipper of the
All
telephone
right,
pole.
next. The most standing backflips in 1 minute. So this person did backflips over and over. How many do you think they did in 1 minute?
Okay, so a backflip, I've seen them take less than a second. Um, in gymnastics stuff. So I think 75 would be too many with a minute being in a minute, right?
In a minute.
So let's say 69.
The answer is 133.
Holy crap! To a second. More
Yeah.
than to a second.
By the way, I found all of these on a website and there's video of all of them. So I will put that video
Please do in the comments.
in the comments so that you guys can see these. All right, next one. You know how like you know that game where you flip the solo cup? You know, like
Yeah.
it's on the edge of the table and you got to flip it
Yeah.
and have it land on
Yeah,
the
on the actual bottom of the cup. Yeah.
yeah. So, how many red solo cups were successfully flipped over in a 30-second time period? Like, what do you think the record is there?
And are they doing it with their hands?
No, that you like it's on the side of the table and you flip it up and it goes up into the air and lands onto the
In
table.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, that's tricky because somebody that knows how to do it just go boop, 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 all the way
I
down the
mean,
table.
but these are red solo cups, so they're gonna like hit and
Solo
bounce
cup.
and go all over the place.
I fill you up. Let's have a party. Sorry. Okay, in 30 seconds, let's say 16 of them.
Ooh, very close, Dre. The record is 15.
Oh, very nice. So he has a 50% catch ratio. That's pretty good.
All right, I got a couple more here. What
Okay.
is the women's? I bet you could figure this one out because you probably have some experience with this with all your CrossFit stuff. So, what is the women's record for flipping a 90-kilogram tire? So, a 90
Fire.
kilogram tire would be about 200
90,
pounds.
yeah, it's
Um,
150.
a 90-kilogram tire 100 times. So, how fast would they be able to flip it 100 times?
I mean, a
I mean,
second
you
and a
got to think about it because you know they at first it's probably fast, but then they get tired.
half. So if it's two flips, it's 100 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 minutes.
7 minutes, 12 seconds.
That makes
So,
more sense.
Dre, if you think you can do it in 2 minutes, you should go for the record.
I wasn't even close.
Obviously, these people are slow.
Yeah, they're just
7 minutes and
slackers.
12 seconds. All right. How many pennies? So weird crap, man. I don't know how I guess people are just thinking of like what's something that no one's done that I can
Yeah,
do
and I can get on
so
the
I
Guinness
can get
Book
into
of World Record. Yeah.
the record book.
Yeah.
All right. So this person flipped over pennies as fast as they could. Like just pick them up, flip like if it's on heads, you put it on tails and you're just flipping it, right?
Okay.
How many pennies could you flip from one side to the other in 15 seconds?
Okay, you froze. So how many pennies could you flip from what?
From one side to the other, how many pennies could you flip from one side to the other in 15 seconds?
15 seconds. 50.
Nice. Good guess. 58.
Oh, that was good.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, you'd be quick with it if you had a method.
So
For
all of
sure.
those, you can watch a video if you don't believe me or
That's
whatever,
fun.
or you think to yourself, I think I could beat that. You can
Yeah.
watch the video and
Please
then
post a
see
video of you beating it.
record yourself. Exactly. We want to see
Especially the
videos of you
flipping one.
beating these.
The backwards flipping one. I want to see somebody do that 133 times in a minute. Is their head still attached? I mean, they're
Well,
flying
and
off.
I want to know like were they on a trampoline or
They
something
have to
like
be on. They have to
to,
be on a
to
soft,
keep
soft
that
skate pad.
going like that? Like
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have
Yep.
to be on a soft floor, I think, one of those gymnastics bouncy floors. And because that's what I've seen reels of people going like whipping, 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 whipping. So I figured they could do more than one per second, but I didn't think more than two per second. That's like, okay, so when you send that video, when you post it in the comments, will you also send it to me? Because I would like to see it.
Sure. Yep. There's a ton of them on there. I just picked these five. There's like 60 of them that are about flipping.
That's fun. That's fun.
Yep.
Well, that was a good episode about flips.
All right, guys. Remember, listen to Dre and Kat, not Jack,
Yeah, don't listen to Jack on
when
this
it
one.
comes to your dog and flipping. And if you need any help with anything, reach out to Dre or I. We'll be happy to help you. And Dre's got that cool course. And one day we will have a Patreon page that
Yeah,
you guys can, that hopefully you would like to join, and we'll share videos there. This
future
could be
goals.
this episode maybe is the inspiration
Impetus
for us to
for it.
get going
Yeah, we need to just
and
do it.
do that.
We need to just do
But
it.
in the meantime, we hope that you guys are playing out there with your dogs, having fun. It's the summer. It's probably beautiful weather where you are. It's probably not as freaking hot as it is here. So I hope you're having fun with your dogs. And what else
Remember
should they be doing?
to be kind to each other.
And be kind to your animals. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Listen to Dre, listen to Kat.
Yeah.
And, that's that.